Slept on Cinema is sponsored by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know someone who's struggling with shoe tying for any reason, Training Ties is the perfect solution.
It is a disaster, and the film is in no way thrilling.
My advice, cancel this flight and leave the gate.
Probably the worst hijack movie ever.
Enough plot holes to fly a plane through.
Never believable and ill-conceived from the word go.
Charles Rain is not insane, but this movie is.
Our main hero and villain are as shallow as they come.
This movie is excusez-moi, forgettable.
Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
And I'm Grove Street.
This week we are flying into the 1992 thriller classic Passenger 57.
This was a blast. I am so glad we did this one. I'm real excited to get into it.
Non-stop action, perfect length movie. There's not a lot of fat on this film. It's awesome all the way through. Super rewatchable because the length, because the action, because of everything about it. It's just a blast.
It's everything you want from a 90s thriller action movie.
Absolutely. For what it is, it's pretty perfect.
And if you get hung up on plot holes and that nonsense, this movie won't be for you. But if you enjoy the action and you enjoy the dialogue and you just enjoy the setting and just the ride it takes you on, you're going to really enjoy this movie.
And let's be real, there's no one who is enjoying digging into plot holes is really listening to this right now.
It shouldn't be. This would be your sign that maybe it's enough for you.
Yeah, time to switch over to some other podcast. As always, the criteria for our podcast is that movies we review have to be at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audience score. And we structure the podcast so that the first half is spoiler-free, talk about some things to look for in the film, take a break, go watch the movie, come back, and talk about what we just went through.
Rotten premise? John Cutter is a former policeman flying to Los Angeles to start his new job working for the anti-terrorism unit of a major airline. However, apprehended terrorist Charles Rain is on the flight too, being transported by the FBI. After Rain's accomplices kill the FBI agents and free him, Cutter realizes the entire flight is in danger. With the help of flight attendant Marty Slayton, Cutter tries to capture Rain and free the passengers. Critics, 24%, and audience predictably a little bit higher at 38%.
Still shocking. We say this every single time, but I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how it did in the box office because I know this movie's still referenced now. I mean, I was just rewatching Always Sunny, and they reference Passenger 57. It's got one of the biggest taglines, one of the best action movie lines. It's what launched a career. It's just such a good movie. So I'm very, very surprised to see such low ratings.
Yeah, I am too. And this is another one of these ones that growing up, I watched this movie, I don't know how many times, a million times, and had no idea that it was poorly reviewed. No clue. Yeah. Thought it was just a all-time great movie and thought everyone thought the same thing.
Thought everyone just agreed this was great, right? And we moved along, but I guess not.
Wild. But it is a good segue into some of the background. It came out November 6th, 1992, and just like last week's film, it did open number one. So we're back where we should be. Love it. Took in $10.5 million its first weekend, and just like last week, where we had a film take down a Goliath, this took down Under Siege, which had been number one for 4 straight weeks. So we have another giant killer here.
That's incredible. Just a little side note: Under Siege 2 does qualify for this podcast.
Oh wow!
Yep, surprising.
Something to look forward to. Also, just a great time to be a movie fan. You could have gone to the movie theater at that time and seen Mighty Ducks. You could have seen Candyman, Reservoir Dogs, all these movies in theaters, and had just come out within a few weeks before this film.
There was always those kids in middle school who would talk about like going into the theater and then sneaking into other movies and watching a bunch off of one ticket. And this would be I never did it, obviously, but that seemed a little too much. But this seems like the perfect time or era to buy a ticket to one movie and then just hop around and catch Mighty Ducks, catch this, and catch Reservoir Dogs. This is just an amazing time to go to the theater.
It's a great set, too, because you, as a middle schooler, you'd go in, you'd buy the Mighty Ducks ticket, and then you get to go see all the R-rated movies.
Exactly.
So it's a perfect combo, really. Little bit of background, throw one fun tidbit out, and then I got to get to the meat of this. But the title here, I thought this was great. It was the guy was looking at a ketchup bottle, Heinz ketchup bottle, saw the 57, was like, boom, passenger 57. I love that. I love that. Like, inspiration can come from anything, including a ketchup bottle, and it's an all time classic film title. I think it's just like a great title. I love that it came from a ketchup bottle.
So great because it makes really no sense for the movie. That doesn't have anything to do with nothing but passenger.
I mean, he's a passenger, and I guess passengers maybe have numbers, but like, I'm not even sure how that works.
I just assumed somebody was actually passenger 57, but nope, has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. It's a legendary title.
Legendary. Yep, perfect.
So ended up taking in 65 million over its run for 92. That's quite a good haul. We're doing the Wesley Snipes double feature. Got to go into a little bit of Snipes. He started studying martial arts at age 12, and he ended up with multiple black belts in different disciplines. And that is crucial for this film and a whole bunch of his movies in this era. Like, you can tell he knows what he's doing. His fighting skills are just amazing and a crucial part of the plot and crucial part of how entertaining this film is. So obviously something to look forward to there.
It was also at the time, we'll get into this later, I'm sure, but surprising seeing those moves get.
Oh yeah, right. It's awesome. And this was part of this absolutely amazing run that Wesley Snipes is going on in the early 90s for the most part. I'm just gonna run through this.
Definitely.
You got Major League in 1989, and I'm not even going to hit all his movies. If I went through all his great movies, we'd be here forever. You got Major League in 1989, King of New York 1990, Mo Better Blues 1990, New Jack City 1991, White Men Can't Jump 1992, Passenger 57 also 1992, Demolition Man 93, Money Train 95.
I don't even know what to say. Like, that's a career right there, an incredible like Hall of Fame career, and he's kind of just getting started. He's not even Blade yet. It's
unbelievable. Yeah, not to mention that he then starts this massive Blade franchise. Unreal.
I always remember King of New York because of Lawrence Fishburne's name in the credits in that. He's not Lawrence Fishburne. He's Larry Fishburne in that.
Yeah, Larry. Also, the all the Biggie references to the Black Frank White.
Yeah. He's Nino Brown before this. That's wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing career. And that's not even his whole career. And on top of all that, he also in the 90s goes out and starts a security firm with him and his brother in the late 90s. Brilliant idea, right? You're like, he's a celebrity. I'm sure he's used to all the dangers that go along with that. Creates a security firm that provides bodyguards to celebrities and other people who need protection. And all the bodyguards are trained in martial arts. That's brilliant. Like, if you're looking for a bodyguard and you're like, well, here's one company and they got these bodyguards, but here's this other company and they got these bodyguards that are also trained in martial arts, pretty much a no-brainer who you're hiring.
Yeah, and if you watch these movies with his regular big henchman and there's another guy who is kind of a henchman who knows martial arts, the martial arts henchman wins every time. So
every time.
Pick the martial arts bodyguard.
Every time. So brilliant career, brilliant businessman, clearly. We won't get into, he had some tax issues later on. That's neither here nor there. But I can't wait to get into this double feature because he's great.
He's also kind of a unicorn too because this isn't like, Schwarzenegger coming in or Stallone. He's a classically trained actor. He's like an artist first and then becomes sort of an action hero. So it's really cool. Like, that's why I said it was sort of unexpected to see those moves off him because he was just a great actor before he gets into being an action superhero.
Right. He's a complete package.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We got to jump right into this. Let's get into Bolo.
Let's do it.
Be on the lookout. One of my favorite things is how a movie starts, especially in the 90s, with their intro credits. So X-Ray Machine Graphics, Bolo.
Amazing intro. I love that. And I'll stick right with that with just Bolo and Iris.
Oh, good. Bolo, small SWAT team guns.
Let me say this is a throwback, but Bolo, empty seats on an airplane. Just something you don't see anymore, ever.
That's so funny. It's impossible to watch this movie now. And I watched this with my mom and my wife, and it's like the first thing that's said out of everyone's mouth when they see that shot of the plane. It's just like, oh, there's just empty seats. That's how it used to be.
Those were the days.
And to this day, you're still like, well, maybe I'll get an empty row, and it never happens.
Never.
Bolo sharing an ice cream.
I had that same one on my list as well. That's just gross. Just gross.
I don't like people eating ice cream in front of me in general. I have to leave.
I'm going to say Bolo a swirly.
Oh, blue swirly, yeah. Bolo, right around the same time. Fake fright.
Nice. I'm going to say Bolo a blue earring. And it's hard to miss, and it's one of these things that you almost expect it to be a crucial part of the plot because it's so obvious, but it's just a fashion choice.
Just a fashion choice. I guess I'll latch onto that. And Bolo, a henchman, being near Snipes before you realize it. So early on, you might see that blue earring.
I like that. I'm going to stick with the, I guess, fashion trend and Bolo mullets. This is just a big time for mullets, and they are everywhere.
And I can see some of the mullets aren't that bad. It's not like jokey mullets. They look pretty good.
Yep.
Bolo, a Saxy flashback.
Well done. I will say Bolo, a Game Boy. One of my favorite gaming devices.
Wow, I missed it. Wow, that's good. Bolo, twice two.
Ooh. I will go Bolo, and this is maybe some foreshadowing for Wesley, but Bolo, The Art of War.
Oh, yep. Bolo, Arsenio Hall.
It's a great one. I'll say Bolo, and this is maybe, I guess, beyond the listen out, but Bolo, some just great knife sounds.
The sound effects of this movie are incredible. The knife sounds in particular are so good. Bolo, not wanting to talk about childhood.
Yeah, don't do it. I'm going to go Bolo, just this sort of goes along with the empty airline seats, but just Bolo, the old airport rules. It used to be different. The pre-9/11 airport rules. Every time I see a pre-9/11 movie in an airport, I'm just always remarking on how different things used to be.
It's just like walking into a sporting event. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Bolo, a long poop joke.
Great. Say Bolo, a putter.
Uses it well. Probably my favorite thing to look for, and I get a lot of them in this, but Bolo nut shots.
There's a lot, and there's also some that are surprisingly well taken. My last one here, I'm just going to go Bolo, the airphone. I love the airphone.
So good. Bolo, let's see. Bolo, a fat lip. I'm just going to run through a few here. Bolo, asking for the time. Bolo, the word stewardess. And Bolo, calling someone the wrong name. Oh, lastly, also, he gets the Pierce Brosnan in Dante's Peak treatment here. So Bolo, women just looking at Leslie a certain way.
You can't blame him.
Nope, not at all.
All right, what are you thinking for a drink to pair with the film?
So I'm calling this one Nora's Special Coffee. So this drink is a ceramic mug, a nice like diner ceramic mug with 8 ounces of black coffee, 2 ounces of Bayou rum from Louisiana, and a Tums on the side just in case things don't feel right. Sometimes mixing booze and coffee can mess up with the stomach, but just have that on deck in case things
sometimes, maybe always.
Right. So Nora's Special Coffee.
That's a great pick, and I was very curious if that was going to come back. It's obviously there's a reference in the film, and I wish there was a little bit more about Nora's Special Coffee. So a lot left to the imagination.
I wish there was a little bit more about Nora, but we'll take her special coffee.
I'm going to go, Justin. This is also straight, ripped from the movie. Pour yourself just a glass of tomato juice. And maybe throw a splash of vodka in there as well. But it's an airplane movie, and this never really ceases to amaze me. The just sheer volume of the most sustainable drink on Earth that is consumed on like the bumpiest thing you go in on a regular basis. Like every time I'm on an airplane, there's going to be some bumps. There's going to be a little turbulence. You're flying through the air at hundreds of miles an hour. And yet like half the people on the airplane are ordering tomato juice every single time I'm on a plane. It's insane to me.
Are people just ordering this amount of tomato juice on a plane, or is this like a normal thing that I don't realize people do when they have this much tomato juice?
Just planes. You never go to a bar and someone's just like, give me a tomato juice. I mean, sure, Bloody Marys for brunch and whatnot, but people are just crushing tomato juice left and right on airplanes. And I know there is a little bit of science behind it in that the altitude, salty things like tomato juice do taste better with the altitude, I've heard. But still, the stain factor, the bumpiness, you gotta stick with clear liquid on a plane. But as a viewer here now would be the perfect time to pour yourself a glass of tomato juice to just get in the mood.
I think that's a great choice. Yep, let's mimic being on the airplane. All right, let's get right to it. You guys are gonna have a great time with this movie, and we will see you on the other side. Enjoy.
They finally captured the world's most dangerous hijacker. Now, they're bringing him back for trial on a plane.
Notify my people. They'll know what to do.
That was their first mistake. Once again, Charles Rain is in control.
And how would you like your sirloin, sir?
Bloody.
But there's just one thing he didn't count on.
55, 56, 57.
Passenger 57.
I watch your show all the time.
My show.
Never miss it. Woo, woo, woo.
Wesley Snipes.
No, this is not happening.
You, back to your seat.
His name's John Cutter. He's airline security. Tell me you're good at this.
I'm the best.
Passenger 57.
You ever play roulette? On occasion. Well, let me give you a word of advice. Always bet on black.
Slept on Cinema is brought to you by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know anyone who's struggling with shoe tying, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Or if you know anyone who just doesn't like tying their shoes, Training Ties keeps shoes tied all day long. Say no to Velcro and yes to independence with Training Ties.
Welcome back.
What a ride.
Literally, what a ride. What a multiple rides.
Yep. Are we on the plane? Are we off the plane? We're getting back on the plane? We're taking off? We're coming back?
I love that. It's like, I love the fact it's like, all right, the plane landed. We're done here. And nope, plane's back up.
This movie, it's so funny that these scores are so low from the critics. This movie came in number one. It still holds up to this day. It's so rewatchable. I had such a blast watching this movie. I was saying before we started that I started watching it again right before we started this podcast, and it took me like 4 hours to watch because I kept pausing it and going down these other rabbit holes. I watched as a reference to the interview Arsenio Hall had with Madonna. So then, of course, I watched a half-hour interview from like 1992 where Madonna's pretending, which she's adamant that she's not a singer, and she's in there for the Dick Tracy release, and she only wanted to be there as an actress, and they were kind of going at it. I just went down the rabbit hole there, and I just came back to it, and then there'd be some other thing. It was just a really, really fun ride.
Yeah, it's just a great film. There's no way around it. It again blows my mind. I had no idea this was poorly reviewed because we all just watched it. It's a great movie.
It's something that people would poke holes in easily, but if this is what you're looking for, just a fun action ride, this is it.
Yeah, the characters are great. The storyline's great. The action's awesome. I don't know what else you need.
I don't know what else you need there. Let's see who you take or what you take for your first pick in the draft.
So this gets picked on a little bit, but I think it's an easy slam dunk first pick for me. And I'm just going again with a genre pick. I'm going with the sort of Die Hard genre. It's like this movie is clearly built off the success of Die Hard. I imagine the pitch for this was Die Hard on an airplane because it's basically Die Hard on an airplane.
Yeah, there were multiple poor reviews that just called it Fly Hard or Try Hard. Whatever, yeah.
I don't see that does not sound like an insult to me. Like Die Hard's one of, if not the greatest action movie of all time. Why wouldn't I want to see the same thing on an airplane? That sounds great, and it is great. It's sort of like people complain about things being formulaic. You have a formula, because it works. Like, you should follow a formula. This is a great formula. It came out in 92. This wasn't like this thing had been hammered to death. This is just a great one man taking down a team of hijackers, hostage takers. You got pure, very evil, but sophisticated bad guys. You got this sort of complicated hero who's sort of there by chance. People aren't believing in him for whatever reason. It's got everything. And give me as many scenarios as you can think of Die Hard on Die Hard in this scenario. Give them all to me.
I don't know how
every time.
If someone's like, "There's this movie we're gonna watch tonight. Here's the deal. It's like Die Hard." Well, awesome. Of course,
throw it on.
Oh no, it's been done. And like you said, it was 92. This isn't like now, and even now I would love that. But it was only a couple years after Die Hard.
Yeah.
There wasn't that many Die Hard-esque things but that, like you said, that's too bad because I want every sort of Die Hard-based movie. I want to watch all of those things. You said, Under Siege? It's Under Siege. That's like a Die Hard. It's Die Hard on a boat.
Yeah, it's a great formula, and it works. It works, and I want to see something that works, and they did it, and it's great.
Absolutely, that's a great choice. That's probably the 1A here. I think I just got to go with my first pick, Wesley Snipes.
Yep, obvious pick for sure.
We talked about it a little bit before, but I didn't know he wasn't such an action star. Like, I've always thought of him up there. Like, he was in the Expendables movies because he's right up there with Arnold and Bruce Willis and Stallone, and he's this action superstar. You just put his name on the title, on the poster, and you call it an action movie. You're gonna come in number one in the box office. And it's so crazy to think that before this, he wasn't. He was in Jungle Fever and Wildcats, and he was like a classically trained actor. And he just, because so many people dropped off from this movie, he got the opportunity to star as an action movie. He happened to be a world-class martial artist. And then all of a sudden, he went a whole new path, whole new career. And without this movie and its success, we would never seen the Blade franchise and all of the other awesome Wesley Snipes action movies.
Yeah, I feel like it's like in basketball when someone is like they grow up playing point guard because they're not that tall, and then they go through a massive growth spurt, and then they can also play like power forward or whatever it is, but they have the ball handling skills of a point guard because that's how they came up. I feel like you get the exact same thing with Wesley Snipes. He like really honed all his acting skills on the come up, and then he also happens to have all these amazing skills that he didn't really put to use early on in his career. And then when he did, you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's an amazing analogy. That's exactly what it is. He had his growth spurt, and all of a sudden he is a great actor, and he can kick people's asses all over the place. So
it's great. You can see why. I mean, that era, those movies that he rattled off, they're all amazing films, and it was just one of those stars that you put him in a movie, and he can carry the movie, and it's going to be a blockbuster, and it's going to be great.
In all of his small parts before this, you're like, man, I want more of that guy, like Willie Mays Hayes and his first movie in Wildcats. You're like, this guy just has something, and it was so great to see him in this. And it's so clear why he's such like a likable, just talented, just a great. He's been one of my favorite actors for a while, which is why we did this double feature. So got to go with Wesley.
It's a great pick.
Let's see. My next one, I think that was my only obvious one. Now I think I went too deep on some of my ones. No, you know what? I'm just going to go nut shots. I love the nut shots in this movie. It happens with multiple villains, and it's like the almost finishing move. At the end to get him off the plane, and you said before, like, oh, it barely phased him, but it phased him a little bit. And this is a man, Rain, who wasn't going to take any pain medicine before having his face removed.
It's unbelievable. And I loved his line there too, is like, there will be no pain.
There will be no pain. Yeah, exactly. Well, until you get nuts and then kicked in the face and then thrown out of a plane, and all of a sudden Rain feels pain.
It made me consider at one point watching it. So I was like, did he have some sort of Darkman-esque procedure done where his nerves were severed or something like that? He's clearly gone through a lot of surgeries. I was like, maybe he actually doesn't feel pain. that crossed my mind, and I guess we don't totally know. And I was trying to look at that nut shot as I was like, did he actually feel this, or was it just like the force? Was it such a forceful nut shot that threw him off a little bit? And I couldn't tell. Like, I think there's still a chance that he just literally does not feel pain.
There's still a chance, and maybe this should be something more, how we can liken whatever's happening in the movies we watch to some aspect of Darkman.
I mean, greatest film of all time, so I'm sure that won't be hard.
Yeah, so this is just a great movie for nut shots. And it was blocked. He blocked it early, and it was one of those, like, don't do that again.
Yep.
I am. And Wesley even threatened at one point to rip his nuts off. He didn't do that, but he did kick his nuts in.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick, because it is a very crucial part of the film. I'm going to go for my second pick, and this is kind of maybe just dipping back into Wesley Snipes' well here, but I'm just going with Always Bet on Black.
Yeah.
It's a great line. As you said, it's still like a reference in pop culture all the time now. The way he gets to deliver it here with a little bit, the camera work where it sort of zooms in on him, everyone involved knows this is a killer line, and he nails it. It's just sort of like, it's like the mantra for the whole film.
And just like the title, it comes out of nowhere. Like, they're not talking about gambling, or he's just like, hey, have you ever played any roulette? He's like, I don't know, kind of. Yeah, and then he just, but like, you're right. That's what stands out about this movie to this day is that line. And the music just it crests right there. And it's just, the emphasis is there. And he has the phone hang up, which everything always sounds better when you hang up the phone after. You could say, never mind this, if you hang up the phone right after.
Yeah, we've definitely lost that as a society with cell phones. That's like a major loss that we've gone through.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, reaching over to press your off button, it doesn't.
It's more of a now, and instead of a big slam.
Maybe Wesley Snipes could somehow pull it off, but he's about the only person that could make it work.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh man, I have so many other things to choose from, but I think my third pick here, and we also just touched on a little bit, but the concept early on when Rain is getting that plastic surgery, I feel like they just touch on it and move on. But the concept of the most evil man on earth constantly changing his appearance through plastic surgery so no one knows what he looks like. I know this gets picked up in a bunch of other films later, but that's how good this movie is, that they just drop that amazing nugget and move on like it's nothing, because there's so much other stuff to get to. But that's just an amazing little detail, and it's a great action movie villain concept. It's brilliant for this guy that's always doing the absolute worst things in humanity, and he's just constantly changing his appearance.
Yeah, it was said so casually, but it's like the coolest thing. There was a whole movie dedicated to how cool this was in Face Off. Yep. And he's just like, I've had it done so many times. It's not even a big deal. And he's no scars or anything. He's still a handsome looking man. This procedure's done pretty well, and it seems like he changes doctors each time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of have to, so no one knows what your prior identity was. That's the only way you can really do it. No witnesses.
No witnesses. For my next pick, I think you'll like this. When they land near a local fair, local festival, and I'm going to take local fairs. And
that was you took it right off my board. That was going to be my sleeper pick. I love that pick. You know my feelings about county fairs. Love it.
I grew up in Dedham, Massachusetts, and they have this day called Dedham Day, which seems very similar to this, where it's just like a local fair. And you'll like this. The Dedham Day is based around gambling on where the town cow poops on the field. So one square yard grids, and I think there's 3,000 of them. And at a certain time, once all the deeds have been paid for, and you pick your plot of land that you hope that Juliet poops on, everyone waits for her to come out, and then wherever she poops first gets the grand prize. And then there's a few more after that the whole town is gambling on. It's just so stupid, but it's also so great. I went to a town fair in Nowheresville, Maine once with a bunch of friends, and we were just walking around, and they had this game called Drunk Driver, and it was you'd be in a golf cart, and you'd have to go around some cones and back, but the driver had a blindfold on, and they would put the person in the back which was me, and you would have to like tell your driver which way to go, and it was just amazing watching it. It's all these like kooky little things that happen at these fairs. My buddy who since passed was the driver, and he told me before he wasn't going to listen to me, and so he just went into the ditch. But it's such a great time. You never know what you're going to run into. It's always some fun characters there. Terrible food.
Yeah, in my mind, there's literally nothing better in the world than a county fair. That's just like the pinnacle of existence. It's also just a great scene for films. Like there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of sounds and sights, there's a lot of people. Obviously, I'm shocked that every movie doesn't have like a county fair scene in it, just because of all the opportunities it gives for having just great shots and great things to hide behind, especially in like a chase scene. And it's just a great backdrop for any kind of scene.
And we got a little recreation of the net. Bring it back to
that's exactly what it reminded me of. Yep.
some carousel shooting action going on there. That was incredible.
Yep. That's a great pick.
Oh, I guess I think I was already on sleepers, but my sleeper pick, actually I love this one a lot, is telling someone to go make calls while you stand still. It's very much like the Curb Your, like it's like, Nora, go call the hospital and go alert the National Guard that something's coming in. He just stands there and like looks off into the distance. It's like it's the Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm, like somebody get a sponge. It's like, instead of saying that, why don't you go get the sponge? Why are you just dictating? Everyone knows what needs to be done. Just because you said it doesn't mean I have to do it.
That's a great pick. And I thought that actor was great. He played that character really, really well. You just absolutely loathed that character, and he was the most detestable character. I think that actor just nailed him perfectly. My sleeper pick, and this was one of my bolos as well, I'm going with the airplane swirly. I think obviously the swirly is a great move in any context, but when you amp it up with the weird blue airline stuff that's in the toilet, that's an all-time swirly. Like I can't think of a worse swirly to give someone. I have no idea what that blue stuff is. I'm sure it's disgusting. That guy probably instantly had some horrible disease, but it hadn't begun.
Miss Edwards was probably in there for a while before that even happened. So,
yeah, you know it. She made that pretty clear. So going with the airplane swirly.
Yeah, you don't get too many swirlies in movies, and definitely not the blue gunk airplane swirlies. So
this is the only one I can think of.
And usually the swirly is used as like a threat to like, hey, I might drown you. But that's not what this was. This is like, I'm just going to embarrass you, man. This is unnecessary. Like this isn't doing anything. I just dunked your head.
It's just humiliating.
Gross.
Absolutely humiliating. I can't. It's tough to think of something more humiliating than getting a swirly in an airplane bathroom.
And the proof of it, that it's on your face after.
Right.
You're not kind of wet. You're like, the sink was broken. It's like, no, you had blue toilet gunk on your face.
I'm also going to throw in a anti-draft pick here. I'm going to go for my anti-draft pick, pinching a kid's cheeks.
Oh,
the Elizabeth Hurley pinches the little kid's cheeks. Never do that. Never do that to a child or any person. I remember being a child and having that done to me and absolutely hating it. I have no idea where that came from, why anyone would think it was a good idea. Never do that.
Never do that. In general, I'm against just touching anyone that doesn't want to be touched, but definitely don't pinch. It's not for you. You're only doing that for you.
Yes.
That's not fair. You can't just grab someone's face for you. So that's a great anti-pick. I like that. We'll add some more anti-picks as we go forward. We'll have to make that a new category.
All right. Superlative for this week. We are doing favorite airline passenger.
Are we adding a least favorite in too, or is that not the same thing?
I think it'll come up. I think that I probably took some liberties in my pick in that it was sort of my favorite airline passengers in terms of favorite that they were in the movie, but they're definitely not my favorite. I actually kind of hate this character, but
you go first, Dad. Let's hear it.
All right, my favorite passenger / least favorite passenger, as it turns out, is towards the end when they're releasing the hostages, and there's this one guy who comes from the back of the plane and is trying to push everyone out of the way, and he just gets gunned down by the terrorists. And I love that scene because everyone can relate to, you're sitting on a plane. There's an orderly way this works. Everyone knows you will go from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. Everyone gets off, but there's always some asshole who thinks they're better than everyone else and is trying to like push their way up or trying to like cut you off as you're waiting to get up. And I don't want to have to be paying attention super carefully to make sure I'm jumping out just at the exact right time so this guy doesn't cut me off. So every plane has this guy, and the reason he's my favorite airline passenger here is because he just gets what's coming to him, and it's great.
He takes that for every jerk who does that when the plane lands. And
absolutely,
there's nothing worse on a plane than just like you can feel it when you land. Is the people just like stand up, they're going to grab their bag, they're going to like jump the line. They think it's a line as in like the line of people who are in the aisle actually already standing, but that's obviously not how it works.
Right. It's very clear how it works.
And then you got to force me to do little tactics like put my elbow out, fake reach for a bag, or have my leg to the side, or maybe I'll just little things. Or sometimes the fun part is to stand up in the row and make sure everyone in front of you.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
When
that's
you feel that pressure and you feel that elbow on your back or something. All right, go ahead. You can just feel them stewing.
Yep.
You get in a little in the compartment on the way out of the plane, and they like race by you.
Yep.
Granted, they could be late for another flight, but I don't think that's the case.
No, you can tell. This is just how these people are.
That's a great pick, and I love how it's your least favorite guy, but he's your favorite because he gets what's coming to him, which is what we're all about. We love comeuppance.
Exactly.
We could have like a whole movie in slow motion of that, like just a half hour of someone getting up and then getting blasted. I would watch that. That's absolutely. A great pick. I have two different people for mine, but my favorite person is Miss Edwards. I know she is ignorant and sees all black people as the same, but I think she was set up by Marty. I think Marty told her that Arsenio was sitting up there because she already came over excited to talk to him.
That's right. That's true.
I think it wasn't just her being like, hey, I'm next to a black man. You must be Arsenio. She came over already like primed and ready to go. So I think Marty set her up because remember she was in a little tiff with him from before. Right. So I didn't really blame her. And she's ignorant, but she's lovable and has fun. And I moved out here to California last year, and now I get the whole, where does LA begin and end? Where's Van Nuys? That resonates with me now. I didn't understand it back then.
That's a great point. That's an excellent detail that also makes it a lot. It takes a lot of the blame off of her because obviously she's an older lady, and I'm sure her eyesight's not great. Yeah. She's probably a trusting, nice little old lady. This nice younger woman tells her that another passenger is a celebrity. Who's she to say otherwise? Exactly. They're going to LA. She probably expects that it's a celebrity. Exactly. Yeah. So she's my favorite person. My least favorite is Norman, and I had to bite my tongue a little bit. That little kid, his stupid ring and his gun. Like when you're a kid, you don't interact with other people. You don't shoot other people with guns or whatever. You sit there. It's awful. And the one thing I did like, I guess, the comeuppance that the guy who was cutting the line got is the pinched cheek. I thought was a good comeuppance for having a bratty kid. I think that's like a fake nice thing. She's like, oh yeah. Here you go. Here's pinch your cheek. Ask him if you can have a soda. So Norman was my least favorite person on the plane. Yeah, that kid was super weird. I didn't like his Dakota ring story. Spiders and bullets. Yeah, right. So this is a tough one because, once again, this is a blockbuster, but one change to be a blockbuster. I'll go first because I don't really have much. I really enjoyed this, but the only thing that seems to be, not the only thing, one of the big things that seems to be a point of contention in this movie is a lot of people didn't like Rain in how he acted. The actor in it, he kind of like pulled it back and was kind of stone-faced the whole time, which I loved. I thought it was awesome. I thought so too, yeah. But if you replaced him with another known celebrity villain or something like that who went for it a little bit more, maybe that would bring people in. But this guy, it's not like this launched Wesley's career, but it didn't launch his. No, was this guy in anything else? I think he was in Highlander and a few other things. Yeah. Nothing major. Yeah, I mean, it's also tough to go up against Wesley, right? Like Snipes is such a dynamic actor, a force on screen that it's tough, and I think maybe the way to deal with that is you do sort of like go a little bit deadpan, and I think that was also sort of like the in vogue. You're sort of going for the diehard sort of cold, calculating European terrorist. It's kind of playing the hands he was dealt.
He was definitely going for the Hans Gruber for sure. Which side piece? I watched Reanimator yesterday, and the name Hans Gruber is in that. I didn't realize
Is
that.
it? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
people in that is Hans Gruber. That's before Die Hard even comes out.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Must have been just and a little wink wink in Die Hard. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot to change on this either. I think my only one watching it now is sort of maybe a change that would make it more timeless. The music. I know this came up in some of the reviews. I thought the music was a little hokey. And I feel like there were times that it kind of took me out of the scene a little bit. Maybe this was more normal back in 1992, but watching it in 2023, I thought the music felt it felt out of place in a number of the scenes. And I thought maybe you put something, I don't know, a little less obtrusive that just sort of like fits with the scene a little bit more. And I don't know, it sort of felt like one of those movies that you shouldn't really be noticing the music so much. And the music was very noticeable.
Right, noticeable and not liked by many.
Yeah. So I think that's my move. You tweak the music a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, but tweak a little bit.
Keep the sexy flashback though. I did like that.
Yes.
But once he got in his red car after that, maybe we can get back to normal. That's a good pick. Well, I'm very excited to hear this. I don't have a good one, but I want to hear yours. What is your spin-off idea for this?
So this one I'm excited about. I'm going to say I think this might be my best idea yet.
Wow. All right.
So brace yourself. So I am not a fan of plays and musicals. I usually think they are for myself. It's a waste of money. The tickets are expensive. Usually I go to a play or a musical. I'm sort of like, I look at the playbill and then I'm instantly, wondering how much longer we have until this is over, that's the thing on me. I get it. A lot of people love these things, but I thought that this movie could be turned into one of the greatest plays of all time. And I think that this could change how plays are done. It could change the audience of plays. What could make it work is there aren't that many different scenes. So you don't have to deal with a bunch of different sets, right? You have the airplane. That airplane set could be used in multiple. You have the training scene early. You're on and off the airplane a number of times. The carnival scene, you could easily imagine just a couple prop pieces there. You could do the sets super easily. There's a lot of close quarters scenes here that I think would work really well in a play setting. And what I think could really be a play game changer is you have all the fight scenes. Like, I think if you sort of married the narrative of a play with all the excitement and action of like WWF wrestling, and you sort of have that with these like martial arts fight scenes throughout this entire film, you have this awesome in-person experience where you're getting this awesome action movie, but you're also getting these like really dynamic martial arts fighting scenes in person, which I think would be unbelievable to see in person. And I think that's a sellout on Broadway for decades.
I'm kind of speechless. This just reinvents the idea of theater. I'm the same way as you. I go to theater. I've gone to plays and stuff, and it's the same thing. It's like you see you look at the playbill and you're like, oh man, this looks like it's going to be a long one. I mean, I went to Hamilton and I'm like, is it over? It's intermission, but it's good, but it's just, I don't know. I want a little bit more. And if we could make somehow this like Fly Hard, Die Hard type of genre movie into a play, then it's pulling in people like us.
Right?
Joe Sixpack over here. We're all of a sudden we're flooding the theaters to watch this and actually see not Nightman Cometh and fights, but like actual fights. That would be amazing to see at a theater. You couldn't be asking my wife all the time to go to the theater.
Yeah, I think it would open up the theater to a whole different group of people, ticket sales. You pick up theater people, you pick up mixed martial arts people, you pick up all these different people that are coming to see this one just absolutely amazing aggregated product.
I wonder if this will become a thing.
Right? Like once I had this thought, I was like, wait, like why is this not a thing? This makes so much sense.
We were like talented and driven. We could create this thing, but...
right? Someone's going to listen to this. Please, someone listening right now, make this a thing. Take this idea, run with it. We give you permission. Knock it out of the park.
And we'll pay to be there first night.
Yes.
I love it. I almost don't want to say mine. I wanted to say have you go first because I didn't want to step on any toes, but I wouldn't have anyway. Mine is this, just that I think there's a chance because they reference it really early that Rain had a sister, and him and her were abused by the father. And he never really acted on anything. It was a weird little tension with Elizabeth Hurley, but there was nothing really there. There's a chance that's his sister. And yeah. And so, he's dead. Cutter walks off with Marty, and maybe she's upset about that fat lip forever and killing her brother, of course, and how everything went wrong. And maybe somehow she has to go to trial. Eventually she gets sentenced. She then has to take the flight to go to the prison she was sentenced in, and she gets out of that. And on the honeymoon flight of Cutter and Marty, that gets hijacked by Elizabeth Hurley and her new group, who's hell-bent on not taking over the plane, but revenge, and blaming that flight disaster on the couple. So I want a long schemed revenge plan. She looked like she was already almost contemplating how she could do this when she was driving away in the patrol car or getting in the back of the patrol car. So I want a sneaky brother-sister revenge plot against Wesley Snipes and Marty.
I love that. And it also carries forward the Die Hard aspect of this. You get Die Hard with a vengeance, the brother aspect. It's like it's two puzzle pieces that fit perfectly. It's amazing. I like that a lot. That's a great call. It's an absolutely great call. It would have been great too if they did this a few years after, because you were starting to hit the real prime Elizabeth Hurley. Like I'm shocked we're this far into the podcast we didn't talk about her at all. She had a great performance there and was about to become a huge star. So that could have been just another great movie.
I think, and she still looks the same now. I feel like she might be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Little honorable mention would be, let's see all the plane takeovers and terrorist attacks of Rain and face changes and all of his successful terrorist and hijacking excursions that he had.
Yeah, you could easily see that be a series with him changing his appearance, and you throw in a different actor every time, right? Just like, you changed his appearance, different actor, and that would totally fit.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's like a Black Mirror. You can get like really big celebrities coming in for one episode because he changed his face. Yeah. Oh, wow. All right. A lot of options based off of this movie.
Yep. Which makes sense, it being such a great movie.
Yeah, it does. Get to any missed notes that we didn't go over?
I love the fact it's a little bit of a lampshade, which we always have to get to. When they say that they're talking about like whose idea was it to bring a hijacker to transport him on an airplane. That's just a great call. And again, perfect lampshade.
So good. Like if you have that question, that's why that line is there.
Yep.
You think they'd put an airline hijacker on a bus or a bus or a train? Yeah. Let's see. I thought the decision by one of the henchmen who was casually reading a magazine during the hijacking to the controls of the Ferris wheel were too difficult to take an extra second to figure out. So his decision is to climb up. You have them where you want to. Just figure out the forward button on the controls.
I also, and this is, I'm blown away that I didn't take this in the draft. Now that I'm thinking back on it, the 1990s era ties in this movie are unbelievable. The tie, every single tie in this movie is just like, it's like a time capsule. Like this thing, they're the 90s like power tie with these crazy patterns. You never see ties like this today, but every single one was fantastic.
Yeah, along the same idea, do you have any casual suits, like suits you could wear to like that lunch at the Oxford that they had? Everyone was in suits for that. I only have
No, I have the suit. I wear it to all the events that
It's
require
for
a suit.
deaths and funerals.
Yes.
I mean, deaths and weddings. I have one suit. So my goal is I was telling my wife this during the movie, like I want to get a suit I can wear to a nice, we go to a dinner or something, and I have a suit for that isn't my suit I got married in.
There was a period of time I once had to go to a wedding, and it was black tie, which was obnoxious, of course. And I went in to go rent a tux, and I was in law school at the time. And the guy, it was kind of a bit of a rinky-dink shop, and I had no money. And the guy was like, "Well, for $20 more, you could actually own this tux." And I was like, "Well, yeah, okay, sure, I'm down. I might need this again." Of course, it was like the absolute shittiest tux of all time. You can imagine if you could rent it or own it for $20 more. So, but anyhow, I bought it and quickly realized that I will never again go to an event that requires a tuxedo. But I was like hell-bent on making sure I got my money's worth. So I started wearing this tux to just all sorts of...
Is that what you wore to our baseball draft?
Yes, that is the exact tux I wore. That's the perfect example of an event that I would just wear a tux to because I had a tux and needed to get my money's worth. So it was like, I think I wore it to like opening day at a baseball game once, all those types of things. It was just like, that was my casual suit.
Oh, that's really good. A couple more little things before we move on to our next movie. I liked when Snipes said, he was asked, what would you do if you were me? He's like, kill myself.
So good.
The 90s was a big era to tell people to go kill yourself. Nobody said.
Yep. The whole interaction and relationship between Cutter and the hillbilly sheriff was amazing. Like the arc of that relationship was absolutely amazing. And Cutter, I don't know how he did it, but he ended up taking everything in stride. He always had a great comeback line. This guy was such an asshole to him throughout the whole movie, and he just took it in stride. Always had a good, one-liner for him, but was never getting too, he never let him get under his skin. I love that, the interactions they had. I thought they were great.
Second to last thing, my second least favorite state in the United States is Louisiana. Can't stand it.
And what's your least favorite?
Missouri.
All right.
Cannot stand. I've had some bad. I don't like Missouri at all. At least Louisiana has New Orleans and some good food. That's something. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Missouri has.
Is that where the arch? The arch? Is that where the arch is?
Yeah. But that's St. Louis. I mean, not St. Louis. The rest of it is just garbage. Yeah. And Tom Sizemore.
Our second Tom Sizemore movie somehow.
Yeah, I know. Sneaky. He's so good in this. I'm surprised he didn't come up earlier. But do you know why his character was named Sly?
No.
Because Sly Stallone was originally cast to be in this, and then he backed out to be in the movie Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Wow. Yeah. What a sliding doors moment in history.
Yeah. Would there be a Wesley Snipes if there wasn't Stop or My Mom Will Shoot?
Probably not. And this movie would not be nearly as good. I mean, I'm sure it would still be good, but Wesley Snipes makes this movie.
I'm a huge fan of Sly, but in this movie, it would change it completely. So I'm glad. I like the nod to the Sly, which also is just a great nickname. But all right, let's get to what are we doing for the second half of our double feature?
Second part of the Wesley Snipes double feature, we got Money Train coming up next.
I have already watched it. I can't wait to get into it. And my wife hates this, but that's okay. It's a Christmas movie.
Yep. I saw that in the trailer, and I was like, oh, who knew?
If you don't know Money Train, it's another Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes, and early J-Lo. So another second appearance for J-Lo.
Oh, wow. I can't wait. I haven't seen it in a number of years, so can't wait to dive into that.
All right, this was a ton of fun, and I think this is our 30th episode too. So
yeah, we made it.
All right, see you next time. Later.